Well, this is amazing already.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were invited, not requested, invited to, if you want, bring an LGBTQ plus character. So the ones I'd like to talk about is Adam and Ian from The Archers, and most of you are under 75, so you might not listen to The Archers. Really important to show that you can be gay and boring, and that's fine, and you can be a normal person. Just being, I think some people think that being gay is that's that character sorted. So, you make them gay, there you go. But I think, well, you need to, being gay is an important part of yourself, but it's not everything.
So I remembered kind of the first time I watched something, I went like, oh, that's like how I feel, or there's kind of it felt relevant to me, and it was when I watched Sugar Rush for the first time. Again, I don't know if anyone's watched Sugar Rush.
So I kind of brought to this Ollie Locke from Made in Chelsea, because that's my guilty pleasure and I don't admit to it in public. But
David and Patrick from Schitt's Creek.
The drama that has really affected me is, and you've mentioned it already, It's a Sin. The other person in It's a Sin as well, who I identify with, is Colin, because that awkwardness of coming out and of not being the party going gay, not being flamboyant in that kind of way. I also identify with that character as well.
So I bring something a bit different genre, I guess, than what most of you guys did. I'm bringing Supergirl, which is a superhero show.
But the character I chose was actually Waylon Smithers from The Simpsons.
So the one person I started would just hit the Hayley Cropper period, and actually it is so beautifully handled and it's so uplifting.
Things we want to kind of start with is just the similarities between soap operas, continuing dramas, and Shakespeare plays.
So yeah, hopefully you can kind of see how the storytelling, I know it's different scenarios, but the bones of it kind of go all the way back to Shakespeare.
there was like something like maybe like Midsummer Night's Dream, Hollyoaks, that kind of teenagey kind of angst and all that sort of stuff, I guess.
So basically, I think that you can write a story using only 6 words. So it is, so, but, instead, and ends up.
Liz is thrilled whilst waiting in line, so it only seemed right to take a drop of her bag handy brandy. But ahead of the queue, she spots a bag-searching bouncer. Instead of panicking, she decides to bring up the flask to her ear and speak into it. The flask ends up looking convincing as a mobile phone, but terrible at holding up liquid as a loosely screwed cap is no longer in place.
Jane is terrified of mice, so she decides to adopt a cat. But the cat starts bringing in the mice and release them in the flat. Instead, Jane decides to run away from home and leave the cat and mice behind. She ends up homeless, lives in a rat-infested alley, and eventually she makes peace with the vermin.
Perfect. Hello. Oh, you came back. I'm so happy.
Morning.
Morning. Okay. I had this vision it would just be me and Caitlin, and very reassuring.
I'm just here to deliver a pizza.
I'm going to ask you to make a list of as many of these things as you can. Some of them might be quite concrete, some of them might be more abstract.
Useful exercise to be able to do, and a way to explore a character's journey, is to turn them into the complete opposite of the person that you've started with. And again, if you're struggling for stories, sometimes if you've got a character and you're really struggling on what to do with them, morph them into the total opposite of what you've got. So a good example of this is someone that taught me this at EastEnders. We had, you will know the artist formerly known as Dot Cotton, now Dot Brannan. So Dot in EastEnders, an elderly lady, very religious lady, with sort of very, very kind of high Christian morals, who, loved her son, Nasty Nick, very, very deeply, despite all the terrible things that he did to her. So you have a character like that, and then what they wanted to do was have Dot sent to prison for her son's murder.
I absolutely love all this stuff because I never get to do this stuff, and it's so cool.
Okay, so as many things, you've got 30 seconds, as you'd find on a plane. go to list as many smells as you can, so as many things as you'd find in a handbag, as many ways to say goodbye.
Thanks, guys. See you later. Okay, everyone, if you want to just bring that to a genius and dramatic ending.